So I would like to welcome uh, the gentleman from My Forex I FinTech to take on this discussion, please. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sekri. Thank you, Kiran. Thank you so much. Very warm welcome to one and all. My name is Ritesh Victor, and I'm the co-founder at My Forex I FinTech. And along with me is Anand. He's sitting right beside me, who's the CEO of My Forex I. Okay, so at the onset, I would like to thank Mr. Sudhir Sekri, Mr. Vijay Jindal, Mr. Animesh Saxena, all the office bearers of Gemma for this privilege and honor to come and say a few words of wisdom about foreign exchange markets in India. And also special thanks to Ms. Kiran Rizvi for coordinating and organizing this. Okay, I also want to thank members of the media. I think a few members of the media would also have joined. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies as well, who have joined. Okay, now let's start. I will share my screen. Okay, it's a presentation that I wanted to share. It's going to be a slightly detailed and quite interesting. And I would request if anyone has a query, you can just note it down. We will have a detailed question answer session towards the end of the webinar. So whoever wants to ask, please go ahead and ask. We will have a separate exclusive question answer session. Okay, so let me just try and share my screen. Mr. Sekri, can you see my screen?
Yes. Now
Yes.
I can.
Now
Now
I-
I can.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So warm welcome to one and all to the world of My Forex I. Now this is the agenda for the evening that we have. Okay, one of the most discussed topic around the world. What are the challenges and opportunities that COVID third wave brings to the Indian forex market? The most pertinent question that comes to our mind is the rupee going to 72 or is it going to 80? The first question that we'll discuss. The second question is how to save money in forex conversions. Okay, the Indian markets are designed in such a way that there is a lot of lack of transparency. There is a lot of opaqueness in forex rates in India. So how do we become careful and intelligent enough to ensure that there are no leakages in our forex conversions? Okay, the second question. The third question is how to optimize our export credit. Okay, we are exporting regularly, so we need credit, we need working capital to manage our liquidity. So how can I optimize the interest cost on my export credit? Either is it in INR, packing credit in INR, or whether it is packing credit in foreign currency. The fourth question, a very critical question that we discuss is how are forward contracts a critical tool for exporters? And we are going to present extensive historical data analysis, which our team has done, our research team has done, where we conclude something very specific. It's a very specific message to all exporters in India. Okay, and then also we'll have a small demo of our mobile application. We have been building a mobile application for the last few years and it has come out very well. So we'll have a short demo of the mobile application. And then towards the end of the session, we will have the questions from you. Okay, question answers that we have, any one of you may have, and I'm here willing and eager to respond to all your questions. Okay, so let's start one by one. I hope the screen is now visible. Kiran, it's visible now?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Okay. And my audio is also quite clear, right?
Yeah, quite clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so now let's delve deep into the markets and understand where the rupee is headed. Is it headed towards 72 or is it headed towards 80? Okay. Now, see, when you analyze an exchange rate, you need to look at two very critical level of analysis. One is what we call as the fundamental analysis. You know, the analysis of the fundamentals. How is the economy doing? How is the growth numbers coming out? How are the inflation indicators? How are the trade deficits? How are the government debt? How are the inflows? So the first level of analysis is on fundamentals. Okay. So let's analyze how the fundamental factors are working out. Okay. Now, very important fundamental factor for India is the inflows, the FII inflows, because that is what adds to the supply of dollar in the market. And as you all know, actually the exchange rate is the effect of demand and supply. Okay. So the supply side of FII inflows has been slowing down. If you see, in the first quarter, we received $7.6 billion of inflows. And in the second quarter, it was just $0.4 billion of inflows. And in fact, in the current month, we have already seen $0.9 billion of outflows. Okay, so what we expect is the FII inflows is going to be slightly subdued in India. Okay, because the global economic recovery is still very uncertain in the light of, the COVID third wave. Okay, all of us were thinking that the COVID is history now and we are going to recover, but we have a third wave. There's a huge number of infections in UK, in US, in Australia, in a lot of nations of the world. Okay, obviously in India, we are increasing again. So the FII inflow factor will become very doubtful going ahead. Okay, so this is rupee negative. Second very critical aspect that you need to analyze is how the dollar index has behaved. Dollar index is actually exchange rate which shows what is the value of dollar to its 6 largest trading partners, currencies of its 6 largest trading partners. So in effect, it is the value of dollar against its 6 major trading partners' currency. So dollar index goes higher means dollar is strong. Dollar index coming down means dollar is weak. Okay. Now what has happened is in the last few months, because US is printing so much of money and it is giving such kind of stimulus, the inflation levels in US has continuously been higher. If people have noticed the bond yields in US, the bond yields have been consistently rising for the past 8 or 9 months. So what has happened is the yields have become very wobbly and very uncertain in the last 2 to 3 months. And because of this wobbliness in yields, the dollar index has gone up very high. Okay, so the global sentiment is very quickly changing from a risk on sentiment where you want to buy risky assets to a risk off sentiment where you want to buy safe assets. So the transition is happening very quickly. Traditionally, what has happened in history is this transition has been relatively, takes time. Risk on to risk off mode or risk off to risk on mode takes some period of time. But because of the yields in US, because of uncertainty, because of, again, the economic recovery getting stalled, there is a lot of swift changes from a risky trade to a risk off trade. Okay, now this has again impacted the volatility of rupee. This has impacted volatility of emerging market currencies. Okay, this again becomes a rupee negative factor. Now, what has happened also is how the RBI's actions have panned out in the last few months. Okay, and we have seen RBI buying dollars very regularly. Okay, there was a decent amount of dollar inflows in July. Where we were expecting that it will hit the market and rupee will gain, but a majority of these inflows were absorbed by the RBI. Okay, and the numbers that we have is, the intervention of RBI since May till now is close to around 30 billion. Okay, and that is the resultant is how our forex reserves are going higher. Okay, so RBI is mopping up the inflows to prevent some kind of rupee appreciation. Okay, so this also becomes some kind of a rupee neutral to rupee weakening factor. Now, again, very critical factor becomes, the possibility how the third wave is going to hit us. Okay, there's a lot of nervousness. There is a lot of uncertainty in financial markets. Obviously, a lot of large central banks of developed nations, they are providing stimulus. And the way it looks like they are going to continue to provide stimulus. But the level of uncertainty and nervousness is still very high. And one very clear-cut, indication of this level of nervousness is how IMF has reduced India's GDP growth forecast. and there is a substantial reduction. IMF was, forecasting that India will grow by 12.5%. Now their forecast has come down to 9.5% for the year 21-22. Okay, so there is a very large downgrade of growth forecasts. Now, another factor what we need to evaluate over a slightly longer term period is how rupee has behaved in the last 10 years or 20 years. Obviously, rupee has a history, and the currency will have those characteristics in the future as well. So analyzing history becomes very important. I'll also discuss in detail the technical factors, which will give more detail about the history. But broadly, what has happened is in the last 10 years, 10 to 11 years, rupee has on an average weakened around 4.5% per annum. Okay, while the interest rate differentials have remained around 5.5%, 5 to 5.5%. So if rupee has been weakening on a long-term trajectory, it is very unlikely that rupee depreciation will reverse. Okay, so probably the rupee depreciation will continue. To what extent, what is the percentage change is the biggest challenge to evaluate. Another very important factor while analyzing rupee is what is the tapering concept of US stimulus. As all of us know, US has been providing this stimulus for almost a year and a half now. Okay, now how are they going to plan to continue this stimulus, or are they going to reduce? Now, we got very clear-cut indications by the Fed officials in their June meeting and also in their July meeting, which happened just 3 days back, that they are looking to reduce the stimulus. But what the chairman of the Fed is very clear-cut indicating is that they still need some kind of a progress, or what is the terminology of substantial progress is required in employment and in inflation numbers. But despite that fact, the discussions of tapering of economic stimulus has started. Okay, and the way Fed is projecting, the interest rates might go higher in 2023. Okay, now a lot of analysts estimate that probably we might see a rate hike in 2022 as well. But as of now, the rough estimate is somewhere early 23 is where they're going to restart hiking the rates. Okay, now this again is a very big danger factor for rupee, and not only for rupee, it's all Asian currencies. Another very important factor for rupee happens for the crude prices, and I'm sure all of you might be aware that crude prices have been on a continuous, regular and consistent uptrend for the last 4 to 5 months, and now it is close to 3-year highs. Brent is around 75, 76. Okay, and the way it looks like, OPEC and its partners, OPEC plus nations, they are continuing with their supply cuts. So as long as the supply cuts remain, the pressure on crude will remain. And as long as pressure on crude will remain, the pressure on rupee will remain. Okay, so these are the fundamental factors which are critical and which we need to understand and analyze. I'll also show you a slide of the various economic data, how economics, inflation rates, interest rates, how balance of trade, how the annual growth rate. If you see, one very significant number here in this table is how the annual growth rate for US is coming to around 12%, and for India, it is coming around 1.6%. So this is in turn trying to give an indication that the economic recovery in US is very broad-based and very strong, while the economic recovery in India is there, but it is slightly struggling. Okay. Now, another very important factor probably that can go in rupee's favor is the balance of trade. Okay. The deficit that we have, the trade deficit that we have, usually on a monthly basis used to be around 14 to 15 billion. And now that has come to around 10 billion. So that is a very big supportive number. That tends to indicate that even though our imports are increasing, our exports are increasing at a faster pace. So that is the reason why the deficit is narrowing. That is a huge positive for the rupee. But if you look at the government debt as a percentage to GDP, that is projected that in 2021, the government debt as a percentage to GDP is going to be substantially higher than the previous years. And that is predominantly because government is going to borrow heavily for any kind of economic recovery to happen in India and to sustain this kind of economic recovery. Okay, I'm sure all of you will have a lot of questions. Please note it down. We will evaluate one by one towards the end. Now, in addition to fundamental factors, let's also have a look at the technical factors. Okay, this is the dollar INR weekly chart, and it is drawn from the year 2011 till now, till the current time. And if you see, there are two very important lines. One is a straight line, which is the red line, which is like connecting the dollar lows from 2011 till now. And it's a straight line. Notice it's a straight line. It's a trend line, what we call as a trend line. The other line is a blue line. The blue line is a very simple technical indicator of what we call as a moving average. It's a very simple moving average of 89 weeks. Now, if you see this line closely, we have seen that this line has acted as a very important dollar support for the last 10 years. And what we also see is that in the last 10 years, the dollar INR spot has traded below this line only for 2.5 years. And even now it is higher than that line. Okay, so this tends to indicate that this blue line is some kind of a critical point. And that point now is around 73.69. So you can say technically 73.69 is a good dollar support. And if you see the red line which is upward moving, connecting all the dollar lows, that comes to around 72.73. Okay, so technically and fundamentally, if you evaluate, dig deep and understand, it looks like the possibility of rupee weakening is slightly more than the possibility of rupee gaining. And even if rupee gains, it's I think quite unlikely that rupee will gain beyond 72.73. I mean, dollar will fall below 72.73 in a different way to put it. Okay, so some rupee gains might happen, but very large rupee gains is, I think, kind of ruled out, at least for the short term to medium term. But remember, it's a market, things change very quickly. Now the market is very large as well, very deep and very wide. So things might change quickly, but fundamentally on a medium term to long term basis, quite difficult to say that rupee will gain below 72.73. Okay, so that's it. That's on the technical and the fundamental side. Let's get into the next topic of how to save money in forex conversions. How do you manage your forex rates? You know, one thing I regularly listen from my clients and listen from a lot of exporters and importers in India is, I always feel banks overcharge while converting forex rates. Now, why does this happen? See, unfortunately, in Indian markets, the dollar INR spot or the dollar INR forex rate, which are variable rates, there is a lot of lack of transparency. There is a lot of opacity about it. Okay, live rates are not available. Live rates are not available in public domain. It is certainly available on terminals. It is there on the Reuters terminal. It is there on the Bloomberg terminal. But these terminals are very expensive. These terminals are really expensive. And very few companies in India, you know, let me just give you a small number. In the entire country of India, which is like, you know, how large and massive it is, there are just 6,000 Reuters terminals, 6,500 Reuters terminals. And out of the 6,500, close to 3,000 are with banks. Okay, so the problem of real-time rates being accessible or being available to a normal exporter or importer on the ground is very It's very remote. Okay, people do not have access to live rates. In public domain, you do get Forex rates, but they are never live. They are a minimum 5 to 10 minute delayed. And I'm sure you understand that in Forex markets, 5-10 minutes is a very long time. Okay, so availability, non-availability of live rates, lack of transparency, opacity about bank margins, lot of challenges in India. Okay, now actually when any exporter or an importer gets a conversion rate, for your case, all exporters, whenever you get a conversion rate, you get only one rate, what is called the net rate for you. Actually, that one rate is derived from a combination of a few rates. Okay, I will explain it to you in this slide itself. See, the benchmark of all rates is what we call as the spot, or what we call as the interbank rate. Interbank rate is a rate at which one bank transacts with another bank. So, and when a bank transacts with a corporate or with an exporter like any one of you, the spot rate is taken, okay, and a bank margin is reduced. So bank margin is a compensation that every market player, exporter or an importer gives to a bank for whatever it's kind of a remuneration to the bank. The biggest problem in India is this bank margin is not fixed and this bank margin is not transparent. First thing. Second thing, the rates will depend on the kind of transaction that you're wanting to do. Let's take, you want to trade today and settle today. You want to get a credit in your account today. Then it is a cash transaction. So in a cash transaction, there is a component called cash spot. Okay, let me take it to the other slide and explain. Okay, now in the cash rate, if you see, you need the spot, you need the cash spot, and you need the bank margin. What you actually get is one rate, but actually that rate is derived by three variables. So if you need optimization of rates, you need to have a thorough understanding of all these three variables. And very importantly, for all exporters, for all MSMEs, understanding this is very important because this is what is going to hit to your direct bottom line. If the margin is set as 5 paise but taken as 10 paise, 5 paise is lost. Okay. Now, in addition to this, you also sometimes do a forward. As Mr. Sekhri said, 50% of your exposures you typically hedge. Now, whether it is 50 or 60, it's a different question. But when you hedge for an export contract, you hedge for a future date. And when you hedge for a future date, you get a forward premium. So the rate is spot rate plus forward premium minus your bank margin. Now, I'm sure in my interaction in the last 21 years with maybe some 12,000, 14,000 companies in India, very few companies know about what forward premiums are. Okay, and very few companies, even if they know it, they don't know how much is it. And they don't know how that variable changes over a period of time. Okay, so understanding Forex rates, understanding the various mathematical components of the rate, what is a spot, what is the cash spot, what is the forward premium, what is the term spot, what is my bank margin, all these three are very, very critical. Because remember, it is not one rate, it is a rate which is a combination of multiple rates and you apply some kind of mathematical logic on it. In fact, things become slightly more complex if you have a cross currency, in the sense that if you have a euro transaction or if you have a GBP transaction, then you have another leg of calculation. So for dollar, it is relatively simple, but if it comes to euro, or if it comes to GBP, or if it comes to JPY, there are two levels of calculation. So understanding these components and understanding these rates are very important because this is what determines your net rate. And remember, and I'm sure all of you agree, net rate is what gets to your bottom line. Okay, again, I'm sure a lot of questions. Please note it down. We will discuss. Let me have some water. Okay. Next, very critical thing, what we need to discuss for all of you is how are you managing your working capital? Okay. You are getting regular orders. You need regular liquidity to run your factories, to pay to your laborers, to buy your raw materials, multiple expenses. How do I optimize my working capital cost, or how do I optimize my export packing credit, since there are certain subventions that are available? Okay, I will explain in detail in this slide. Okay, now what is this slide telling me? It is all exporters can take packing credit either in INR, or you can take packing credit in foreign currency. The availability or the choice is yours. Now, remember, a packing credit is a loan. And for any loan, the most critical component is your interest rate. Now, if I take packing credit in foreign currency, what is the interest rate I pay? If I take packing credit in INR, what is the interest rate I pay? This mathematics has to be done every time when you want to avail packing credit. Remember, in current times, the government of India gives subvention on packing credit in INR, and the subvention is as high as 5% for MSMEs and 3% for non-MSMEs. Okay, which typically means that, just follow the calculation. Let's take a normal MSME gets a packing credit in INR in for about 8 or 9%. Okay, now 8 or 9, you get a 5% subvention. So straight away 5% is reduced. So 8 minus 5, it is 3. Now, very importantly, what happens when you take a packing credit in INR? I take a INR loan now. Okay, I run my machine and I run my factories. I pay my labor. I manufacture the goods. I ship the goods. And after a few days, a few months, a few weeks, I receive my payment. That payment is going to come in foreign currency. So what you can do is, whenever you're taking a packing credit in INR, for the repayment of this packing credit, you can take a forward cover. And that forward cover will give you 4% forward premium. So effectively, the interest cost becomes 0. If it is 8% or 9% PCINR cost, minus 5% subvention, minus 4% forward premium. So your interest cost is 0. So even if you are eligible only for 3%, you are a non-MSME, but you are eligible under the interest subvention scheme, you can get a benefit subvention of 3%. So even if it is 3%, your cost will still come down substantially. Now, typically, if you compare this with a packing credit in foreign currency, what you pay is LIBOR and you pay a spread. And the spread for a pretty long time has been anything between 2 to 2.5%. Large exporters get probably at 1.5%, but sorry, even if it is 1.5% and 0.2 is LIBOR, your minimum cost is 1.7 to 2.2 or 2.7%. Compare that with 0 to 1% when you are taking a packing credit in INR. So the thumb rule is, if you have subvention, you take packing credit in INR and you do a forward cover. If there is no subvention, again, the thumb rule is, if there is no subvention, then take PCFC. Because that benefit of 3 or 5% is not there if there is no subvention. I'll explain this modus operandi in the next slide. sorry, there is a, Acha. Okay, there is a query. I will answer it. I will certainly answer it. I got a query to one of my guys, Mr. Vinayak Shitole. Mr. Vinayak, I'll get back to you. Let me just finish. I will certainly respond to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Now let us come to the process. Now the process is, you take a packing credit in INR. Let's take, you take a 10 CR packing credit in INR. You convert that 10 CR at the current spot price to get the dollar value. That dollar value you hedge for your due date of your export receivable, whether that is 3 months, 6 months, whatever period. So when you take a forward hedge and take a forward cover for 3 months, 6 months, you get the dollar INR forward premium, which is close to around 4 to 4.5%. So your cost comes down substantially. And after, on maturity, when you get your dollar receivable, you use that forward cover to convert your dollar to INR and repay that INR PCINR. Okay, so all exporters across the country who are eligible for subvention should take packing credit in INR, avail the subvention benefit, and hedge your dollar receivable. Get the benefit of 3 or 5%, and at the same time get the benefit of the forward premium. Remember, this interest subvention scheme is announced by the Government of India, and it, for the last 2 quarters, we have seen they have given a expiry period, and they have ended it for 3 months again. Okay, so earlier expiry was 31st March. They ended it till 30th June, and when June came near, they extended it till 30th September. So as of now, the interest subvention scheme is there till 30th September, and the way it looks like, the way we see from the market and from the Ministry of Commerce as well as Finance Ministry, it looks like this is certainly going to continue. Okay, this is not going to go off. The interest subvention scheme will certainly continue for a while. Okay. Now next. Okay, now this is very interesting. Okay. Multiple years, met a lot of exporters in India, a lot of importers in India. Everyone has a conclusion of the market. Obviously, smart people, intelligent people. So you will have conclusions. But one conclusion that I have regularly been, hearing, getting feedback from exporters in the country is about the INR is always weakening. So why should I hedge? INR is, let's take 72 now. It will weaken to 73. It will weaken to 74. It will weaken to 75. So if the dollar INR trajectory is always higher, why should I hedge? And it is very true. We saw the chart, 10-year chart, just about 7-8 slides back, and we have seen that the trajectory is higher. The dollar INR is always on an upward trend. So if the dollar INR is always going higher, why should an exporter hedge? Again, very valid question. But is it the reality? Big question mark. Does the rupee always weaken? What about dollar INR forward premiums? Are we looking at the entire picture? We are looking at a trajectory which is going higher. Okay, obviously it is going higher. But is it going higher consistently and regularly? First question. Second question is, when I am doing a forward hedge, I get a forward premium. And the premium we have seen can be as high sometime as 6-7% and usually stable around 4 to 4.5%. So what about the forward premiums? Have we adjusted the forward premium on the dollar INR? So what we did was, I'll share a simple research that we did for the last 20 years. Okay, we started from January 2000, and we did a very simple analysis. And what is it analysis is, every working day from 1st of Jan 2000, every working day, we take a 3-month forward, we take a 6 months forward, and we take a 12-month forward. Okay, every day. In the last 20 years, every day I take 3 forwards. 3-month forward, 6 months forward, and 1 year forward. And simply what I do, at the end of 3 months, I compare that forward rate with spotted maturity. At the end of 6 months, I compare the forward rate with spotted maturity. And again, at the end of 12 months, I compare the forward rate with spotted maturity. So it is a simple comparison between doing a forward and keeping your positions open. How has the last 20 years behaved or worked because of this? What is the gain? The gain is forward rate minus spotted maturity. I'm looking from your perspective and exporter's perspective. What is the gain I get? Forward rate minus spotted maturity. If I keep doing forward and my forward rate is higher than the spotted maturity, then an exporter will gain, right? So I analyze that gain for the last 20 years. So in other words, it is a simple comparison between dollar INR forward premium, that what I receive when I do a forward, and the rupee depreciation for that period. Okay, simple comparison between dollar INR forward premium and the depreciation of the rupee over the long-term period. Okay, the results are interesting, and the results are very different from what the usual exporter conclusion is. I'll show you. For the 3-month period, the average forward premium is 4.43%, and the average rupee weakening is 2.69%, which means there is a positive difference of 1.74%. For 6 months, there is a positive difference of 1.54%. For 12 months, there is a positive difference of 1.25%. This means that if I regularly keep my export positions hedged on the last 20 years average basis, for 3 months forward hedging, I will gain 1.75%. For 6 months hedge position, I will gain 1.54%. And for 12 months, I will gain 1.25%. The small table below, the total number of trades in each month is in excess of 5,000. It will be 5,000 because you are done for every day for the last 20 years. So typically there are like 230, 240 working days in a year. So 230, 40 into 20, 21 will come to 5,000 plus days. So every day when you're doing this, the success ratio is 64% to 65%, which means if you are blindly selling dollars every day for a 3-month, 6-month, 12-month maturity, your success of forward rate better than the spotted maturity is going to be 65% of the time. And the net result is gains of 1.25% to 1.74%, depending upon the maturity you choose. So the conclusion that rupee is always weakening is perfectly fine. But the conclusion that because of that weakening, I should not hedge is not fine. We see very clearly that 65% of the time, on an average, the forward rates are better than the spotted maturity. And the gain, average gain, is as high as 1.5%. And I'm sure all of you businessmen, all of you in the markets understands the value of 1.5%. So the conclusion is that if exporters regularly hedge for 3 months, 6 months or 12 months, you gain on an average 1.25 to 1.75% compared to the market rate at maturity. Okay, if you want, I can repeat this again. This is very critical, very important for all of you exporters. Okay, if you regularly hedge, 65% chance that you will make money. Average basis, 1.25 to 1.74% gain, depending upon the maturity you choose. Okay, this has led, I'm sure all of you, sometime you would have read something about what we call as overvaluation of rupee, undervaluation or overvaluation of rupee. Rupee has been regularly overvalued, and this is the anecdotal evidence why rupee is overvalued. Because typically this parity has to hold. The depreciation of the currency vis-a-vis the forward premium should remain at some kind of a parity. But what we have seen in the last 20 years is that the premiums has always been more, on a majority of the cases has been more, and the depreciation has been relatively way lesser. That is the reason why rupee is overvalued. That is the reason why a country like US, delegates and brands India as a currency manipulator, blah, blah, blah. The argument is endless. But the bottom line is, in India, all the smart people who are aware of this fact, majority of the exporters hedge and majority of the importers don't hedge. This is the bottom line, and this is the evidence which has led these exporters and importers to that conclusion. Okay, as I said, majority of the exporters in India hedge and majority of the importers in India do not hedge. Okay, so very interesting. When we say that the trajectory is upwards, we need to evaluate, okay, fine, the trajectory is upward, but is the forward premium that I'm getting whenever I'm doing a forward, is that more than this trajectory, steeper than the trajectory, or is it flatter than my trajectory? Very important to understand. And what we have seen, historical evidence, the forward premiums have usually been more. The rupee weakening has usually been less. In fact, let me tell you something more interesting. We have covered 20 years, okay, from 2000 to 2021. Now, this 20 years can be very comfortably split into two periods of 10 years, okay, from 2000 to 2010 and from 2010-11 to now. The diversity in these 10 years is very large. In the first 10 years, from 2000 to 2010, the currency has barely weakened by about 0.5% to 1%. And the forward premiums were as high as 4.5%. So first 10 years, huge disparity. This difference, what we are seeing as 1.5%, was 2.5 to 3.5% in the first 10 years, from 2000 to 2010. But from 2010 till now, the disparity has come down substantially. Now, in the last 10 years, the average depreciation has been 4.5 to 5%, and the average forward premium has been 5 to 5.5%. So that difference is now only about 0.5 to 1%. But since we are averaging the last 20 years, the overall difference is coming to around 1.5%. But understand one thing very well, last 10 years, this disparity has changed. Okay, there is still, you get more premiums than the weakening, but that difference has come down in the last 10 years. The difference was substantially higher in the first 10 years than in the last 10 years. Now, that is again an indication that Indian markets have evolved and INR has become internationalized, and there is a lot of international trade happening. And since such international large level of international trade happens, lot of international minds come to India, lot of Indian minds go abroad, lot of knowledge sharing, lot of idea sharing. So any disparity which is easily understood will get evened out. And that is what has happened in the last 10 years. Okay. So this is the conclusion. And this is predominantly done from my side. I would request all of you to please note down your questions and we can take the questions one by one. But before we go to the question and answer session, I'll ask one of my colleagues to take over and give a small demo of our mobile application. This mobile application we have developed in the last 3 years, and it solves a very big problem or a lacuna of the Indian market, what I discussed a few slides back about transparency of rates. Okay, that is the first step that you take. The rates need to be transparent. And I need to know what the rates are. So the app, the mobile app gives you real-time live rates, and your first problem is solved. So once your first problem is solved, you will think of more solutions to solve the bigger problems. Okay, so I will hand it over to Gunjan. She will take over on the mobile app side.
Hi everyone. This is the main screen of the application, and the rates that you see here are the live interbank rates that we talked about earlier. Okay, and as an exporter, the rates that you would mostly be looking at would be the bid rates, all the rates under the bid side. You can look at the rates for multiple currencies. I have added the major ones right now. And you can even look at the high and the low for the day. Now, when you tap on that currency, you get to this screen. Now, what this screen shows you are the forward rates for the next 365 days. So for the next 1 year, these are the live forward rates. And not just the forward rates, you can look at the cash rate, term rate, and the spot rate. That is today, tomorrow, and T+2. Now, you also have an option to add your bank margin. So let's suppose your bank margin is 5 paise. You add it. And all your rates will get adjusted according to the bank margin. For example, you want to book a forward for 30 September. All right, and you scroll down. Now, like we mentioned earlier, that you need to know the breakup of the rates in order to get the right ones with the bank. So the pricing breakup shows you each and every component. So you get, you see the spot rate, the premium, and your bank margin. And the net rate that you see is usually what is quoted to you by the bank. Now, this will help you negotiate the rates with the bank. Now, let's suppose you read some research and you get an indication that I will get a better rate than the current net rate, that is 74.86. And you think that maybe I'll get 75. And you don't want to look at the screen constantly. So what you can do is you can set a rate alert. So when you scroll up, you get to the rate alert screen where you can select your currency pair and the type of transaction. So right now we're booking a forward. So I've clicked forward. You go there, you select your date and the target rate. So I think that I will get 75 and I will enter my bank margin. Whether you want to set the rate for the trading window, that is 10 to 3:30 p.m. currently, or the 24-hour window. And you can select whether you want email or SMS and you create the rate alert. Now, what this will do is as soon as the forward rate touches 75, you will get an alert. So you don't have to constantly monitor the screen, and you can leave all of that to our application. Now, let's go to the next one. Let's go to services. So compare. Now, we have a tool called Compare. Now this allows you to audit your past transactions. So suppose you converted $1 lakh at cash, value cash, and you converted them yesterday. Okay. So you enter the rate that was offered to you by the bank. So suppose you got a rate of 74. Now, if you remember the exact time, you can enter the exact time, but usually banks don't tell that. So suppose you have a rough idea that I did the conversion at around 12 to 1 p.m. And I'll submit this and a report will be generated. So what this report tells you is the cash rate that was going, there between 12 to 1 p.m. and how much did your bank give you. So you can see the difference and the loss for this particular transaction. Now, you can also see the loss on an annual basis according to your turnover. So you can just adjust for your turnover and see how much loss a similar type of a transaction would have made. Now let's go back. Now we have another tool that is TPO. This just makes things even easier. So suppose you want to do a conversion, Forex conversion, and you do not have the time to negotiate the rates with the bank, and you have meetings you have to go to. You can what you can simply do is select your currency pair from here, enter the amount that you want to convert, and since we are all exporters, you select export. The type of transaction, suppose I want to book that 30th September forward. I will select my company name, my bank, whether it is a fixed date or a window forward. I will be booking for 30th of September, and you just submit it. Now what this will do is this will submit this deal to our dealing room, and our dealing where our dealers will cover this rate on your behalf with your bank. Another tool would be Dr. Forex. Now, suppose you just have a one-off transaction. Suppose you imported some machinery, or you don't have that regular exports, and you just want a hedge advice for one particular transaction. What you can do is you can enter Dr. Forex, put all your specifications, the time frame, the currency, whether you want to do it for hedging or trading, whether you're an exporter or an importer, what is your current hedge ratio. So suppose currently we were hedged for only 20%, and the type of analysis that you want, technical, fundamental, or both. And you can write a brief about your query here and just submit. After this, our advisory team usually calls you and discusses your issue with you while providing you a report. Next, we also have these retail Forex service. So you can just go through that. Now, another thing, another tool is for trade finance. So you can get your export LC bill discounted and export factoring as well. So that's also available here. Now, let's go to the research tab. So we saw how various economic factors affect the Forex rates, right? So our research tab helps you be up to date with all the news, all the reports. So that our research desk publishes daily market reports thrice a day, and also all the relevant news that's there. And we also have premium research reports, which are written by industry experts. So and along with that, weekly reports. So these weekly reports will give you an outlook of what's going to happen in the coming week. Next, we can go to economic calendar. Now, we saw how different inflation rates and interest rates affect the Forex markets. You can look at those such similar data here. So this economic calendar tells you how important that event is, whether it will have a medium impact or a high impact. So you can see the forecast, what was the previous rating and what was the actual rating for that particular economic data. And I think that's it from my side. The other stuff is, yes, everything's done.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm back. I hope you got a good idea about the application. So now we have a comfortable amount of time left. So anyone and everyone, whoever wants to ask a question, please feel free to ask. I think first question I will answer Mr. Vinayak. Yeah, Mr. Vinayak Shitole from which place?
Payal Group.
Payal Group. Okay. Mr. Vinayak's question was, is it applicable to, Mr. Vinayak, the interest subvention is applicable to all MSMEs, irrespective of the industry. Okay. As long as you are a registered MSME, and an exporter, you are eligible for interest subvention on packing credit in INR, pre-shipment, post-shipment. Okay. So if you are a non-MSME, then there are 414 HS codes. You have to satisfy the HS codes if your product is under the scheme. So if you satisfy those codes, then you are eligible for a 3% subvention.
Okay, that's answer. Thank you.
Mr. Vinayak, you have any questions further?
No, thank you. That's answered my question here. That answers my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Vinayak, can you come again? You became very faint. Can you come again, please?
Thank you. That's answered my question.
It's answered. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So anyone else wants to ask? Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Vakesh Chabra this side from Trendsetters. Can you listen me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you, Mr. Chabra. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, I want to know that the FX retail through which we are now working, I believe that is through RBI side, and there are no hidden means there is no hidden margin in that, and the rates which are being shown at the FX retail site are the correct rate, and only the margin which has been told to us is being deducted. Means there is no hidden margin, I believe, when we book through FX retail.
FX retail, right? The CCI,
Yeah,
you're talking about the CCIL website, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, CCIL website, what we have been extensively working with CCIL, and probably we'll go ahead and do a big project with them. The CCIL rates are quite close to the market. Okay, it is good. There is no hidden margin. Whatever is your approved or exclusive margin, only that is charged. But the only challenge with CCIL is the integration with various Indian banks has not happened fully. Okay, it is a platform that has been recently started, so the integration has not happened, so some degree of challenge still is left, but there is no hidden separate margin on the CCIL platform.
Okay. The second thing was, like we are an exporter and have a turnover of around say 100 crores, and our margin for USD is 2.5 paisa, 2.5 paisa. So would you say that it's a you can say a right margin, or more or less, or means it's a right margin for 100 crores of turnover, 2.5 paisa?
Okay, Mr. Vagesh, your margin depends not only on your turnover, it depends on a lot of things. It also depends on your credit rating. It depends upon the interest servicing history that you have with your client. It also depends on some levels, your relationship with your bank. Okay, so I think on a broad basis, if your credit rating is reasonably sound and good, then 2 to 3 paisa on 100 crore turnover is fine. It is neither overcharged, and I don't think it is undercharged as well.
Okay, thank you. But in this, one more question from my side.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what happened is earlier, you know that FX retail has come recently.
Yes.
Earlier, we were booking through SBI eForex. Right?
Okay.
In that, the margin they were giving was 1.5 paisa.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I know that there was some hidden margin also.
Mm-hmm.
And they were giving us 1.5 paisa. Now, when we have moved to FX retail, they are not ready to go. They are not ready to give me 1.5 paisa they are emphasizing that 2.55 is a good margin.
Okay.
So shall we go with this, or shall we argue with them? Means we should try to reduce it.
See, sir, FX retail on the CCIL is very clear and it's very clear and transparent. Okay, FX retail is very clear and transparent. There is no problem at all. The problem with SBI, if SBI was giving you a eForex terminal or a eForex online platform, remember it is from SBI. Okay, now CCIL is a neutral party. CCIL is a neutral party, so they will be clear and transparent. SBI is your counterparty, so they will try to tweak it to their advantage. Okay, so any day, any comparison, CCIL is going to be better than your SBI platform.
Right. So one more thing means through FX retail we can book only USD rates till now. And they were saying that GBP booking will also start means in coming months. Can you give some idea that by when we can expect that?
See, I think, sir, cross currencies will probably happen in about a 6 months time. As of now, it is fully focused on dollar INR. And Bageshji, in India, dollar INR is almost 94-95% of trade. So Euro, GBP, JPY is only 4-5-6% of trade. Okay, so as of now, it is fully dollar INR and probably about 6 months for Euro and other currencies to come in.
Okay, thank you. One last question. Like I have said that for dollar, they are means 2.5 paisa is a margin, and for GBP, as you have also mentioned that because of the cross currency and GBP, as I understand, is a more volatile currency. So in that, I have seen that means the margin goes from 13 paisa to 20 paisa, like that. It varies a lot.
See, sir, GBP as a currency is yeah. So all international currencies, GBP, Euro, JPY, they are traded 24 hours and it is traded throughout the world. So obviously a currency which is traded throughout the world will be more volatile than a currency which is traded only in India. Okay. So volatility will certainly be there, but you can fix the margins. If it is 2.5 paisa in dollar, then probably it will be maximum 3 paisa on GBP. The basic crux bottom line is you need to ensure that the margin is fixed and it is not variable.
I think, you know, what Vagesh is saying is, I'm sorry, I'll intervene here. What he says is when we take a forward cover in GBP or a Euro, what they're doing is they first convert it to, they apply the selling rate and convert it to a dollar. Then they apply the buying rate and convert it to the pound, to the currency you want to cover. So that in that exchange, perhaps, you know, where if the rate is say 2.5 paisa or 2 paisa, we end up paying 7, 8, 9, even 10 paisa for GBP.
See, sir, what happens in GBP or in Euro is obviously INR is not fully convertible and it is only convertible to dollar. So for GBP INR, the GBP dollar and dollar INR legs will be used, but it is done immediately. If it is done immediately, then the difference will not be much. But if you do, let's take GBP dollar first and do dollar INR maybe a minute or two later, then there might be a difference of rates. That is first factor. Second factor is if you do a forward, okay, there is a dollar INR forward premium and there is a GBP dollar forward premium also. Whether it is a premium or a discount, that varies. Okay, so there can be differences because of spot. There can be differences because of premiums as well. Okay, go ahead, Anand. He also wanted to say something. Yeah.
See, sir, if you would have noticed in the newspapers on Monday or Tuesday, one of these days in the Economic Times, there was an article which said that RBI has come up very heavily on the FEDI, which is Foreign Exchange Dealers Association of India. So what they have said is basically at a time when any customer going forward, once the guidelines of Reserve Bank of India are implemented, any customer who is being quoted by bank for forward contracts, he will be quoted mid price. So when we say mid price, we will say that if at all you are an exporter, so you will not be quoted just one price of 104 rupees 0.110. You will be quoted like 101, 104.10 and 11. So you will exactly know what is the difference between the buying price of the bank and the selling price of the bank. So this regulation is already been approved. This has already been guided to the banks. Banks have not followed up. They have not implemented these guidelines, and FEDI was taken to charge by the Reserve Bank of India last week in one of their meetings. So whatever these smaller anomalies are there in the market, wherein the banks are trying to charge higher on forward contracts, I think with some passage of time, these things are going to be history now.
Okay. Okay. Now I have one question which is a little different from what we've been discussing, even though it's relating to foreign currency. See, if we have, I mean, we are allowed to keep foreign currency in our EEFC account for 40 days as per RBI regulations. 40 days is, after 40 days, the banks is obliged to convert it to Indian rupees. Is that right?
No, sir, it is not 40 days. It is the next month end. The regulation is that you need to mandatorily convert by the next month end, which means that if you get it on 15th of July, you have to convert it by 31st of August.
Now, is there any provision where this can be extended?
No. It is a guideline by the RBI, and I don't think RBI is going to make any change on this.
So, but why would you like to extend this? Why would you like to keep idle money in the EFC balance?
Well, there, of course, you know, there is subject to certain calculations, and there are certain internal issues which I can't disclose at this point.
We can discuss offline. What we can tell you a better way in terms of meeting your objective. Instead of keeping the money idle with the bank, say lakhs of dollars idle with the bank, what we can give you an alternative, which will be more cost effective.
Okay, yeah, Vagish will speak to you on that.
Yeah. So Deji, what we'll do is we'll connect offline then for this.
Yeah.
And so on the rates, one thing which is very intriguing is while the audience is discussing about rates, the transparency and everything, if you would have noticed, volatility in currency markets have gone up manifold. So earlier, dollar rupee used to range between 10 to 20 paisa, 15 paisa maximum. But now in some of the days during the month, 4-5 days, there is a volatility of 40-50 paisa also. So it is imperative for exporters and people in international business to really see that can they make use of this volatility in terms of timing your conversion at the right time. So one is you are calculating the bank's margin, bank is giving you a fair price or not, but are you actually capitalizing upon the market opens at 10 and closes at 3:30 during COVID, or otherwise 9 to 5, and then you are converting your currency at a time when it feels that yes, the currency has come to a good point of time in which I should be converting. So that is one area in which you can optimize your conversion rate by 4-5 paisa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One thing in this regard, I would like to ask you one thing, that in particular in regard to GBP, someone was telling me that it's always better to book after 12. Is that right? Means after that the volatility in GBP is a bit less because perhaps the UK market opens or something like that.
Okay. See, sir, volatility is high, obviously, when GBP or UK markets open. And all these currencies from Euro to GBP, the highest volatility is during the time when US and Europe markets have the common time, which is evening and late evening India time. So the volatility is there, but you don't know whether the volatility will go in your favor or whether it will go against you. Okay, so this notion that I need to book after 12 or after 1 p.m. India time this might work sometime, might not work sometime. But what the analysis or what conclusion you have, that the volatility is more, that is certainly true. Once Europe opens, volatility increases for GBP and Euro, and it is highest when Europe and US have the common time.
Right. So, when this GBP booking starts in FX retail, so that will be directly from GBP to INR, or we have to book twice?
So GBP directly GBP to INR.
GBP to USD and USD to INR.
No. It'll be directly when you do it on FX retail. It'll be directly GBP INR.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, good. Any more questions, please? I covered a lot of things. I'm sure a lot of people have multiple doubts. So please ask doubts. A couple of ladies had asked me to start the slideshow. I hope everyone was able to see it clearly. Okay, Geeta has written, when we hedge, the premium will differ from what our bankers give. Okay, ma'am, the premiums that are quoted in the market and the premiums what banks give is usually different, because that is where the banks make money. Okay, and live premiums comes on terminals. You can use our mobile application to get live premiums. Okay, but once you get live data, you will be able to negotiate. Premiums is the place where actually banks make money.
If you see a variation in what bank is quoting and what is being given on to My4SI application, then we have on the bottom, we have given a call us button. If you feel that our intervention is required with the bank, you can simply press that button. One of our dealers will assist you while talking to the bank on a conference call with you and try and negotiate that price better for you.
So Geeta ma'am, is your query answered, or you want to ask something more? Geeta?
Ritesh,
Yeah.
Ritesh,
Yes, sir.
you had given us a comparison of the depreciation versus the forward cover premium.
Yes.
Since 2021, since 2020.
Yes.
2010 was it? 2020, right?
2000.
From 2000 till now, 21 years.
To 21 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Now there you are talking about a one year forward premium. Obviously, this does not apply to a garment exporter, because garment exporters rarely get orders for deliveries 12 months hence. So probably applies to other commodities or other products, but not to garment exporters.
No, Sudhirji, let me correct you. The examples that I took was 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year.
Correct.
Okay, so you get orders, you get deliveries 3 to 6 months, right?
Right.
So 3 to 6 months.
Fine.
Also, yeah, 3 to 6 months. Also, the conclusion is the same.
Actually, no, what you were showing was that 3 months was 1.75, the 6 months was 1.5, and 12 months was 1.25.
Yes.
So isn't it wiser to have a 3 month forward cover than have a 12-month forward cover, or even a 6 month? Because you as per your analysis, you get a better gain of 1.
Sir, this obviously 3 month has a annualized value. 3 months will be more than 12 months, but you should hedge depending upon your export order cycle. Okay, here I gave an analysis taking 3, 6, and 12 to establish a conclusion that forward premiums are more than the rupee depreciation. So you can use that either for 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, 6 months. It will work more or less the same. That will be hardly a 0.1, 0.2, 0.3% difference.
Yeah. So basically your advice is that we should cover the entire orders that we have and not keep keep a bit of a cushion. You advise your advice is that we should cover the entire amount.
See, sir,
Take a forward curve for the entire amount.
I'll tell you. The question is not so easily answered, the one that you have just asked. It's not a simple question. Sir, you should cover to protect your rates. If you are in a product where the product price might change because of the change in currency price from your delivery to receivable, then you should certainly keep some positions open, unhedged. But if your product price is fixed and sacrosanct and it does not change because of market variables, then why should I keep anything open? So they
no. See, people usually keep it open. So if there is an advantage. So what you are showing is there is no advantage. Okay. But what people have in their mind is perhaps, the depreciation could be a little more than the forward cover. So that is why they keep some open positions. But from your analysis, clearly show that no, it is not so. It is only in our mind. But in actuals, the forward premium is higher than the depreciation.
Yes. So this is all market data. Nothing is fictitious. Everything is taken and availed from the market. So the analysis is very clear that the forward premiums are more than the rupee depreciation, and the result is 65% success ratio. 65% of the time you are right.
And even if you are wrong,
I think
And taking a cue from that, would it be wise to cover more than the orders you have?
No. Sir, one thing, Sudhirji, very clearly, we need to understand what we are doing. Are we hedging or are we speculating? Okay. You should speculate. You can speculate. Everyone wants to make money, but you should not speculate on your business. You should not speculate on your exposures.
It's not purely speculation. Let me explain to you how it happens.
Okay.
Let me explain to you. It's not really speculation.
Mhm.
It is, I would say, speculation, but wise speculation based on your the past performance.
Okay.
Now, for instance, suppose today sitting in the month of July, I know that in 2022 July, I will have, say, that month I will have $5 million worth of orders, which I don't have today. But based on my history, I say, okay, I'll have 5 million for the month of July. So should I cover those today or should I not? Although I don't have them in hand, but I know I will get them.
Okay. Before answering, should I ask one small question?
Yes,
Sir,
please.
the receivable that you get in July 22, do you have the product price fixed now?
No, we don't.
So if your
don't
product-
have a product price fixed, but we do know that if the orders are booked, say, in the month of October for July delivery, then October, we obviously, we'll have to take that. When we do the calculations, we take a little bit of cushion in the current, the exchange rate, and accordingly we do our costing. But of course, if we talk about, do we have the price today? No, we don't.
Okay. So very simply put, sir, if you don't have the price today and you want to take a hedge, so will that be a hedge or will that be a speculative positioning?
Like I said, it could be speculation. You could call it speculation, but wise speculation. Safe speculation. Safe speculation.
So
Based on history.
Sir, that risk you can take, provided you feel you have a very strong feeling that the currency is not going anywhere. Number one. Number two, that should not give you the liberty to really take a very huge amount of position. Say 4-5% of your expected sales, 10% of expected sales, you can go and exercise your risk, right? Because you are a businessman. You always take risk and then you get rewarded. So we would not say that you should not participate in that risk, you should definitely participate, but don't do mistakes of being very, you can say confident.
Overhedged.
Overhedged, very confident. ऐसा नहीं होगा. सर ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है कि जो नहीं होगा. हो सकता है कि 3 महीने बाद ₹80 भी कोट करे. हमें नहीं पता.
Okay, so why speculation is a very nicely coined term. Okay, so I kind of agree with both you and Anand. You can take that risk, but remember, Sudhirji, you are taking a risk. So at least wisdom says that you take a balanced risk, probably 5%, 10%, 15% of your exposures. You can take. So what we have seen in Indian markets, companies going for a toss or going through difficult times when they have overhedged or over leveraged their positions. वो नहीं करना चाहिए. That shouldn't happen.
ठीक है. Understood. Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, one more thing. FX retail rate is obviously a live rate, and at times I have seen that, let's say, although they are, although the rate in particular when we are doing forward booking, let's say the rate they are saying is you will get 78.26, and many times if the amount is like $2.5 lakh and I'm doing the forward and I put, let's say, 2-3 paisa extra, that also I get most of the times. Is that what is the reason for that? Because the live rate is coming 78.25 and I'm putting 78.28, still I get the same.
Sir, on
time it happens.
Sir, on FX retail, there are two.
By booking the yeah.
Sir, on FX retail, there are two things happening. One is a spot transaction, which is converted into cash. And second is a forward transaction. So when the feed for spot transaction is coming, it is coming independently from CCIL platform, FX retail. But when the forward contracts are being signed or when forwards are being quoted, those independent feeds are coming from respective banks. So suppose your bank is, say, Canara Bank. So Canara Bank has given a authorization to CCIL that whatever quotes you are getting on the spot, we are going to honor those because those are live rates. The source of those rates are similar to us and to you, that we can honor. But at the time when a customer of ours come to book a forward contract, then those rates are going to be provided by us. So that is where the markups are a little higher on the forward contracts, even on the CCL platform today. And these markers will be higher at a time.
Okay, that means in a way we are gaining.
You are? Come again, sir?
Yes, sir. Mr. Vagesh,
Hello.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. Shabda, go ahead.
Actually, I missed your last line, what you said.
So what I said, yeah. So what I said was, at a time when you are going to FX retail for forward booking, so those rates are not quoted by CCIL platform. Those rates are quoted by your respective bank. So suppose you're dealing with Canara Bank, so your rate is being quoted by Canara Bank.
Yeah.
Your State Bank, then State Bank is quoting those forward rates. Whereas on a spot transaction, this rate is coming independently on CCIL platform. And that is common to all the banks.
Okay. So can the, is that means that the State Bank can have a hidden margin or something like that in this?
Yes, there is a possibility. That is where otherwise 3 paisa for people like you who are exporting in huge quantity, 3 paisa a bank will make a loss if they are going to give you a higher rate. And if you have experienced yourself that you have quoted a 3 paisa better rate, then you have got it. It means there is some flexibility on the side of the bank to offer you a better rate.
Okay.
Dagesh, I think you can have a one-on-one meeting with them.
Yeah.
Tie up a
Yeah.
meeting, and then you can ask. Let's not monopolize this
Right.
platform.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. Others, I see a lot of participants, but no, not much of questions. So others would want to ask. Please go ahead. Please don't feel shy.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sir, good evening. This side Diwakar calling from PM Pro Exports.
Good evening,
Sir, would
Diwakar.
like to have your view. Would like to have your view on coming. I think in future, what will be the dollar rate that you think it's been suitable in coming 3 or 4 months? Because we are negotiating with 6-7 other consultants. As per them, it's going towards 75. But ultimately, whenever it is touching 74.80, some resistance is there, and it's dropping down to 74.40 levels. That's why we are holding over so many of bookings. We need to book forwards. What is your view on this?
So how long you have been holding on to these export sales?
Say, sir, we are daily booking some forwards, but our quantum is quite high.
Yes, sir, I'm
Approximate
saying
$5 million every month we are receiving.
So that is fine. So what I'm saying is, when you say that I have been waiting for 75, because 75 was there last month itself.
Sir, last month we booked so many forwards, but after that, still orders are coming in, and we need to book forward for that. That's why we are holding so many of our bookings. See, every day we used to book one forward, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but nowadays one forward is there.
So what is your proximity with that level of 75? Is that your costing is you have costed those exports at 75, or you have
Our costing is 74.30, 74.40, but profit should be there, na, by forex.
But if at all you have already elapsed 1 month in terms of waiting for 1 month for 75 to come, effectively, whenever 75 comes, if at all you are very lucky, then your effective rate will be 74, 70 only, because 30% premium you have already lost in the 1 month.
But sir, we are having forwards for the month of July, August, September. We are using them. That is early delivery.
Sir,
That we are using.
Sir, see, when you say I am waiting for some level, that level should have some meaning. Meaning could be 2. Either my costing was at 75, and if I hedge at 74.50, I am worse off.
Sir, I am giving you another scenario. Suppose we don't have any order. I need to book dollars. My target is for a year. My average rate should be 77 rupees. As on today, we had booked approximate 1.25 CR dollars.
Okay.
Now I want to maintain that sheet up to 77 levels. Next year, I want to book at 78 for a year. My premium should be there. Current rate is there. That total comes to 78. Whatever be there. For that particular moment, we are waiting. Do you think in coming future, it may touch 75, 75, 20, 75, 30 levels? That's a simple question I am asking.
Okay. So you're actually asking a view. Okay. Now,
yeah, your view only.
Yeah. Diwakar, I will give the view, but at the same time, I would want to answer your risk management question also. Okay. Your question is view, and depending on the view, I want to take a hedge. Okay. So, which effectively says that you will probably look into market levels to take a hedge, right?
Yes.
So is that the risk management policy that you follow, or is it just a hunch?
Just hunch, sir.
Okay. See, I will tell you my view. You can follow whatever risk management policy you have. But typically, I would also suggest that don't base your risk management policy on market views. The risk management policy should be internal rather than external. Okay. Anyway, that's a different level of discussion, and I think I will certainly get in touch with you sometime and discuss about how to frame a optimum or a wise risk management, prudent risk management policy. See, the market view, I'll tell you. If you ask me, I am more inclined towards rupee weakness than rupee gain.
Oh,
Yes. Okay. But I do look at the charts very closely. I do a lot of technicals as well. Okay. So, okay. The long-term charts you have shown. So I do look at the technicals in detail. Okay. So at least my short-term technicals indicate that there might be a short-term rupee gain. Okay. Short-term rupee gain. But my medium-term to long-term direction is rupee weakness.
up to what level?
Again, if you ask me December, then I'll probably say 75.
Okay.
But if you ask me August, short term, then I will say probably an attempt to 73, 80, 90, and then 75.
Then 75. Suddenly back to 70.
See, our general
Okay, I got
direction
it.
is rupee weakness,
Mhm.
but short term, there could be rupee gain.
Short term.
Yeah. When I say short term, that is 1 month.
Only 1 month is there. Suppose
Yeah.
we are in July and now August.
Yes, August rupee might gain and recover, but our general direction is rupee weakness.
Hmm.
Okay. But I would suggest you follow what your risk management policy says. Market ऊपर नीचे तो होते रहेगा.
Definitely it's there. Its flux is always there.
Yeah.
In past 10 days, you have seen that dollars, I think 4 or 5 times touch 74.80, then suddenly comes back to 74.40 levels. Past 10 or 15 days.
See, sir, if you ask, the real resistance is 75, 30, 31, and the interim resistance is between 74.85 to 74.91, 92, that level.
Yes, it's there.
So that resistance is there. We have seen that resistance holding. Probably it might hold for some more time. And that resistance holding, that is the reason why we are saying short term, there might be some rupee recovery, because we are feeling that there might be some correction in the dollar index. Dollar index has already corrected. There might be some more correction. So that will probably lead to some rupee gain. But ultimately, rupee will weaken. This gain is going to be short term. Medium term to long term, rupee weakening will remain.
It's remain there. What do you think, sir? Nowadays, so many IPOs are coming. Is that also affects rupee?
So if the IPOs leads to dollar inflows, then it will certainly affect rupee, right?
Mhm.
The IPOs can be subscribed by domestic retail institutions. It can also be subscribed by international institutions, right? So if international institutions
Inflow is
subscribe,
there, na?
that will supply dollars into India.
Mhm. Yes, definitely inflow is there. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for your view, and hope so. We will be in touch again.
Sure. Thank you, Divakar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Any more questions, please? Go ahead.
Sir, one more thing, that foreign exporter to hedge 50% through forward, is this the right policy? Is how the policy should be framed? Is why it should be 50% or 80% or 30% or 100%?
Okay. Sir, it should definitely be not less than 50%. Okay. It should be 50 or more than 50. At the same time, Bageshji, we also need to understand, are we managing risk or are we trying to capture market peaks and bottom? Okay, if your product price is fixed, then why should I keep anything open? But if the product price is variable and the exchange rate might have an impact on the product price, then I might as well keep something unhedged. Okay, so keeping it 50% is the minimum for an exporter in India. If it is dollars, other currencies, obviously the strategies will change a bit. But if it is dollars, then I think your hedge ratio should be close to around 60-65%, if not more.
Right. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Anytime, sir. Thank you. If there are no questions, then I think we can wind up. Kiran or
We can do that now.
Sudhir sir, about to say something? We can wind up now.
No, I want to, on behalf of GMA, I want to thank you all to the attendees. This webinar was quite informative and relevant to our industry. Thank you, Mr. Victor. And thank you, the team, My4SI. Thank you all.
Thank you. Most welcome. Everyone take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.